Wait, y'all don't know about Samson? Alright, I guess I'll tell you. So basically in the Bible, God loved like everybody, but he chose the people from Israel to be like his home team. Like he rooted for them, he backed them, he like supported them constantly. And you would think that with all this power, the Israelites would be like, holy crap, we love you too. Like, and they would just worship God all the time, but it never happened. So basically they would be like, yeah, God, we love you, but there's this really cool idol that just came along that we could make out of gold, and they say that it'll give us more grain, so we're gonna go worship that instead. And time after time after time, these people never learned. As soon as they started doing that, God was like, I don't need to protect you anymore. And then some pagan group would like come in and be like, haha, Israelites, we're gonna roll over you and oppress you. And then after a couple hundred years of oppression, they would be like, okay, God, like seriously, this is getting like old, you're supposed to root for us, can you help us out? And he would be like, okay, fine, like I still love you, I'll help you out. So this is literally the 7th time this has happened to these people, right? 7 times of being free and rich and then oppressed, and then free and rich and being oppressed. And so they are worshiping these idols and everything like that, and God lets the Philistines, who are like these really like warlike group of people who worship this idol called Dagon, which had like the head of a fish and the body of a man. Anyway, they like come up out of like the sea area, and they're like, guess what's up, Israel? We're taking over. And so they take away all of their spears and swords and like fighting stuff so that they can't fight back. They take away all their food, and then the Israelites are like, okay, God, like seriously, these people are terrible. Help us out here. Like, give us a hand. And of course, God's like, yeah, okay, fine. You're my chosen people. Let me help you out real quick. So he goes to this woman named Momoa, and Momoa really wants like a little baby, but she can't have one for some reason. Like, you know, some women just can't have babies. And God's like, guess what, Momoa? I'm making your dreams come true. I'm gonna give you a baby. And she's like, yay! And he's like, only 2 conditions. And she's like, what are they? And he's like, he can't drink wine and he can't cut his hair. And she's like, okay, that works, right? And God's like, guess what? He'll also be the strongest person literally ever. And Momoa's like, this is awesome. Woo! So little Samson grows up with his long hair, with his not drinking wine. He's having fun, everything like that, and he's this young guy, and he decides that he's gonna marry this Philistine woman who lives like kind of across these deserty plains, and he's going over to this town like one day, you know, to go like make out with her or whatever, and he's walking, and this lion comes out and is like, "Rawr, Samson, I'm gonna kill you," and Samson's like, not today, and rips it apart with his bare hands. I swear to God, that's what the story says. He just rips this lion apart, goes, sees his girlfriend, and then comes back home and doesn't tell anybody about it. Like, just ripped it apart. Anyway, so a couple weeks later, he's like, man, I really want to see my girl again. And it doesn't even talk about what this girl's name is. He just is walking along, and he sees this dead lion, and all these bees had, like, moved in and made, like, a beehive. And what do you do if you're Samson and you see that, right? You stick your hand in the beehive and get you some honey. And so he ate the honey, walked along, still hadn't told anybody about it, and finally he's deciding that he's gonna get married to his boo, who lives like all the way across town. They still ain't living together or anything like that. They're being good, and they're gonna go get married. So all of this happens, and while Samson is at the wedding, there's like a bunch of Philistine guys there, and they're all talking and like, you know, having a good time. They're all drinking. Samson's abstaining from wine, of course, and they start telling like riddles to each other to see if they could figure it out. And so Samson's like, I've got a riddle for you guys. If you can figure it out, I'll give you 30 suits of clothing, whatever that means. I'm not really sure. I guess like really cool clothes. And if you can't figure it out, you've got to give me 30 suits of clothing, you know, like 30 pairs of Jordans or whatever. And they're like, tell us what your riddle is, Samson. And he says like something mysterious to the effect of like, out of the strongest comes the sweetest. And they're like, wow, we don't know. So they go to Samson's new wife, and they're like, hey, you're Philistine, get Samson to tell us what he said, or we're gonna burn your house down and kill you. Swear to God, like that's part of the story. And she's like, Samson, please, like this is more serious than 30 suits of clothing. And he's like, okay, fine. So he tells her, she tells them, and then they come to him, and they're like, aha, what's stronger than a lion? What's sweeter than honey? And so Samson, like, freaks out because he's so mad because he didn't think they were going to figure it out that he, like, walks outside and just kills the first 30 people he sees, rips off their clothes and gives it to these people, and then storms off angry, like, back to his dad's house, right? And so his new wife is there like, oh my god, I made him mad, oh no. And so his wife's dad, his wife's dad is like, oh, don't fret, honey, I'm just gonna marry you off to some other guy that'll give me a good amount for you. And so he does, he marries her off, and then Samson, when he comes back to see his wife after he's like calmed down and chilled out, his dad is like, yeah, so Samson, we actually like, you know, sold her off. And so Samson freaks out, as one does when, you know, they lose their wife, and her dad's like, no, don't freak out, I'll give you her sister instead. And he's like, I don't want her sister. And so Samson, like, being whatever sort of psychopath he is, goes out and collects all the foxes from the area. Apparently there's a lot of foxes around Philistine. Gets 300 of them, right? Like, I don't know how you carry 300 foxes. I assume he had some large sack just full of foxes. And this is where it gets weird, as if this story wasn't already weird. So Samson takes a fox in one hand, takes a fox in another hand, ties their tails together, puts like a piece of wood in between it, lights the wood on fire, and lets the foxes go. And he lets these foxes go all through the Philistines' fields, and they start setting all these fields on fire and stuff, and burn like all of the food that the Philistines are supposed to eat for the entire year. And he does this like 150 pairs of foxes all running around, half on fire, people are screaming, everything like that. I can only imagine it was hilarious. So Samson is a prankster, and that's how the Bible puts it. These were pranks, okay, which is weird because I don't see that as a prank. Anyway, so all the Philistines are like, who burned down our food? And then other Philistines was like, it was Samson. He was mad because this dude married off his wife. So, as logical thinking people, they go and burn down that dude's house and kill him and Samson's wife's sister. Okay, they just kill these people, and then they go to try to find Samson, and they, like, tie him up to bring him, like, back, and he sees this, like, donkey's jawbone, like, you know, in the sand, and he rips out of his restraints, picks up the jawbone, and just murders 1,000 people with it. Like, just, he goes absolutely ham. This is, like, his best weapon, kills all these people, and then, as one does, makes up a song about how he killed these people and sings it all the way back to town. So now he's all upset, right, that his wife is dead, and that, like, you know, all the people he liked is dead, and he kind of chills out for a little bit. He still doesn't cut his hair, he still doesn't, you know, drink wine or anything like that, but eventually he meets this new girl named Delilah, right, and Delilah is also a Philistine, and he falls in love with her, and everything is great, and, you know, the Philistines at this point are like, Delilah, you need to find out what makes him so strong, because he's killing everybody, and we don't have any foxes anymore. Like, you need to figure this out so we can bring this guy to justice. And so Delilah and Samson are like laying in bed one night, like they're getting all snuggly, and Delilah's like, hey Samson, I was wondering if you could tell me, like, what makes you so strong, you know, don't keep secrets from me. And Samson's like, alright, let me fill you in on the deets real quick, boo. If they were to tie me up with, like, green twigs, I wouldn't stand a shot. And so Delilah's like, oh my god, I'm so glad I know. Thank you, Samson. You're so sweet to me. And so that night, right, she goes out, picks her some green twigs, walks into the bed, ties him up with them, and it's like, Samson, the Philistines are here! Oh no! And he, like, wakes up out of bed, rips out of the green twigs, goes all, like, He-Man mode. Of course there's nothing there, but he's like, whew, you know, and she's like, oh my god, you lied to me. Why are you making fun of me? Tell me what it really is. And he's like, nah, what it really is you need to use some new rope, right? Samson is straight up lying to her. Samson was a biblical troll, okay? Like, this is biblical trolling at its finest. And she's like, oh my god, yay, okay, now I know. So she goes, gets her some new rope, ties him up with it, and once more, the girl who cried wolf, Samson, the Philistines are here, and goes out to attack them. Nothing there, and she's like, for real, tell me. I think he does this, like, even another time before he finally tells her, but she's like, listen, Samson, you say that you love me, but you can't really love me if you're gonna keep secrets from me, so tell me. And he's like, alright, here's the deal, I'm a Nazarite, it means I've got a vow with God, like, I can't cut my hair, I can't drink wine, if I do, I'll lose my strength. And she's like, thank you for finally telling me. So she goes and gets her a bunch of the Philistine guard, brings them back, and shaves his head bald while he's sleeping. And then, of course, Samson, the Philistines are here, and he's like, and can't do anything, because now that his hair's gone, God, like, doesn't want to give him the strength anymore. So they tie him up, and they bring him to, like, prison, and everything is hunky-dory for them. And they poke out his eyes, so he still can't fight them. So eventually, his hair kind of like starts growing back while he's in prison, and for whatever reason, they decided they don't need to cut it really. And so God's like, alright, I'm gonna give you some of your strength back. And they're having this like big party at this temple. It's like bumping. There's like 3,000 people on the roof. The inside, everybody's having a great time, and they're like, go get Samson. Let's show everybody like who we conquered. He was supposed to be the strongest. Haha, joke's on you. So Samson comes out, and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so weak. Can you take me over by those support beams so that I can lean against them? And so this guy that's walking him around is like, whatever, and brings him over to him, and Samson's like, God, if you really love me, like, let me kill all of these, like, jerks right now. Like, I don't care if I gotta die too, but like, let me show him what's up. And God's like, alright, one more time. So Samson rips down these support beams, collapses the entire building, kills everybody, including himself, and then, like, God has this little moral of the story, which is pretty much like, so Samson had a lot of flaws. He was kind of a prankster, you know, he did a lot that maybe he shouldn't have, but like, if you're looking for God, God's gonna listen and give it to you. So I just like read through all of that. I'm doing this thing for where I'm trying to like get more acquainted with the Bible, and I thought that story was awesome, and I wanted to share it with you guys. My name's Tim. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you all next time. See you guys.